And hello, everybody. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I am your host, Kim Davis. Today is Tuesday, December the 7th. I cannot believe we are in the final month of 2021. And wow, what a year it's been. But listen, welcome. Thank you for being a part of this week's show. We have a lot to get to. I'm super excited about our special guest today. He'll be joining us in about 15 minutes. Jeremy Booth. I got a chance to meet Jeremy doing Sports Extra on KHOU and actually meet him in person during the Astros postseason this year. He knows a lot of stuff, but we're going to talk to him about baseball today. He's got a wealth of baseball knowledge. So he's going to join us in about 15 minutes, and we're going to talk about the lockout. We're going to talk about the Astros, and we're going to talk about what's happening with Carlos Correa. I mean, nothing's happening right now because they're in the midst of a lockout, but we're going to get to that shortly. But we're going to start with a little bit of Houston Texans. Yes, Houston Texans. So they are 2-10. They were shut out at home on Sunday. It was the team's first home shutout in 20 years. First home shutout, I think, in franchise history. 31-zip against the Colts. It wasn't pretty, right? This team is, if I had to, I feel like they've digressed, right, from the way they started early in the season to where they are now. So I'm going to let you hear a little bit from Texans coach David Culley post game on Sunday, and then yesterday, the day after post game, the day after the game. Hear his comments as we wait to find out who is going to be the starting quarterback. The starting quarterback this Sunday when they play host to the Seattle Seahawks at NRG Stadium. We're going to get to that. I'm going to put a pin in that there. But I'm going to start with the team that is winning in this city, and that's the Houston Rockets. I don't know, about 2 weeks ago, many of you were ready to tar and feather Steven Silas and run him straight out of town if we were to listen to what everybody was saying on Twitter. And I don't think by any chance this team is on its way to a postseason run and to contend for the championship. But this Houston Rockets team that had lost 15 games in a row has now won 6 straight. As of Sunday night, they had the longest active win streak in the NBA. A small feat, right? But a huge turnaround. And, winning cures a lot. This team is still very young. It didn't cure that. They are young. It's a young team. But, in some of those previous games when it came down to, late surges by the opponent, even when the Rockets previously had a lead, they weren't able to sustain it or hold on to it. But once you get the taste of it and you start knowing how to win, you have confidence to kind of work and move through some of those spaces. Jalen Green is still out. He's injured. They're trying not to bring him back too soon. KPJ was out again. He came back on Friday night in that win early, but he went out with that thigh contusion again, and they want to make sure that they allow him to get healthy. So Eric Gordon has been starting at the point. And, Garrison Matthews has been a great addition. So this team is doing some things well. Like they're learning how to trust each other. They're learning how to win, right? That's something you have to learn how to do. And they're learning how to move through some adversity and fight and get some of the wins that, previously when the other teams would make a run, they would fall off and wouldn't be able to sustain it. So we'll talk a little bit about these Houston Rockets today, and I want to let you hear from head coach Steven Silas. This is after Sunday's win over the New Orleans Pelicans. Again, it was the 6th straight win for the Houston Rockets. Here is Steven Silas.
Rough or rocky stretches in those last few minutes, handling it, responding to it better, having had a little more practice at it lately.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we spent some time making sure that when Jay Sean has the ball, we know what we're getting to. When Eric has the ball, we know what we're getting to. And then they put Valanciunas on tape towards the end, so we need to make sure we know, like if Seawood sets a screen, they're going to switch. If JT sets a screen, it won't be a switch. So making sure that we know what we're looking for in those moments yeah, we've had a lot of practice during the games, but we did spend a lot of time yesterday going over those situations.
Kind of nice to have to worry about closing out double-digit fourth-quarter leads.
Yeah. There's a timeout. I think it was in the third quarter where it might have been in the fourth, but I told the guys, like, we've been here before. We've been in these situations where it's 12 or it's double figures and we lose the lead and becomes like 4-2. So this is a moment right now that we have to make sure that we maintain or increase. And we did a good job. I mean, the bench guys were really, really good. DJ Augustine was great. House was good. Armani did a good job. KJ, like, everybody off the bench, again, did a great job. Everybody's ready to play.
Coach, playing with two bigs for a good chunk of the game for the first time in a while. What'd you see?
Yeah, I thought it was necessary tonight because of Valanciunas and his rebounding and, his physicality, and having Tice out there helps with that. It was good. I mean, the minutes that they played, I think they were about even, or maybe we were up 4 or so. But, yeah, I mean, there's going to be times where it's necessary to play both bigs together, and whether it's Alpi and Seawood or DT and Seawood. The great thing, and I continue to say about DT, is he's always ready and gives whatever the team needs. And tonight he did it again. And I love coaching him because of that. And again, he is a model for the rest of the group as far as being a professional in a situation that's not like perfect. So yeah, we'll see more of it because, the lineups and the matchups necessitate it.
So that was Coach Silas after the team's 6th straight win on Sunday night. They beat the New Orleans Pelicans. Next up is the Brooklyn Nets with James Harden and Kevin Durant. They will be in the Toyota Center tomorrow night. So I'll be there covering that game. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and wherever you're following me today for updates. But that's what's next. It's the next game up. And then on Friday night, they play host to the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks. So that should also be, they'll be tested. You could say, well, they've won these games, Kim, and in this stretch, they've not been great teams. Well, so what I would say to you is if you've lost 15 in a row, any win is a very good win, because once you get used to losing, you get accustomed, I want to say used to losing, you've lost so much, you've got to figure out again how to win. What does that feel like? How do you not cave into the adversity when things get tight or things get tough? And that's what they've been doing. It's been fun to watch. There is a long way to go, and we look forward to seeing what they do. Again, Jeremy Booth is going to be joining us in about 6 or 7 minutes so we're going to talk some baseball, bring you up to date on this lockout, and let you know what he thinks about the chances of the Astros retaining Carlos Correa. So it is going to be interesting. I do want to let you hear from Christian Wood. I was going to play some Texans, but we'll do that later in the show. We're going to stick with what's kind of fun and what's been winning and fun to talk about. So Christian Wood has been playing huge, right? He's been shooting it well. I am not a huge fan of your big guy being out, on the perimeter, shooting a bunch of threes, but he's done a lot of things to help his team. He's had a mid-range shot, he's come in under the basket some, and he's just been it. Watching him play now, if you remember this time last year, really, actually before the James Harden trade and before Christian Wood got hurt, this is some of what we saw, like him kind of getting into his groove. And so this is Christian Wood after their 6th win in a row, talking about where this team is and what it feels like to be in this spot.
Yeah, I'm not going to truly have an off day. I'm going to still come in and get some shots up and try and get ready for the next game because I know it's going to be a big one.
You stayed so positive because it seemed like you knew that this was right around the corner, and now that it's coming to fruition. How does that feel for you?
Feels great. I said before in the last interview, this team's been fighting through adversity. Our second halves have been tremendously better. Garrison Matthews continues to hit big shots for us, even though the stat sheet might not say it. 4 or 6 is still great, but he's been hitting big shots after big shots, and we need that from him. And everybody's been playing together. I think during this winning streak, we've been number 1 in assists. So it's great to see the ball movement and everybody enjoying and having fun with the game.
Last game, Christian, you played a little bit with Alpi on the floor, the double big lineup tonight, starting with the double big lineup, also some more minutes with you and Alpi sharing the floor together. How do you feel going back to that after kind of moving away from it a little bit?
It's fine. It worked out for us today. DT did a great job with defending Valanciunas, even though he was getting a little bit of foul calls and Alpi was getting a little bit of foul trouble. I think all of us did a great job in terms of defensively trying to defend him. He's a big body down there, and especially they beat us on the glass, but overall, I think we did a good job of meeting their physicality.
Offensively, how do you guys decide when you and DT are on the floor together, who's involved in the action, who's not involved in the action?
We kind of pick and choose here and there. It's not really. It's kind of just the flow of the offense. And if I'm in the trail big, then I'm going to go and set the screen. Or if he's the trail big, then I'll space at the 3-point line or the corner just so he can get some pick and roll action.
Do you feel like you have to take on a greater playmaking responsibility without Kevin Porter, without Jalen Green?
Yeah, for sure. Just because those are the guys that make plays for us. Those are our two guards, and with them out, it's a little tough. And coach does a good job of putting out shooters so we can have space and lanes for me to drive and for EG to drive, and he's been doing great during this win streak as well too.
All right, so that was Christian Wood. You know, as he mentioned, he'd had some players out during this win streak, and I'm trying to see where I go here. Just changing the layout, and they've made the adjustments. You know, and for all of listen, they have not turned the corner. When I say turn the corner, they've turned the corner from, okay, we got a taste of it. We have a better feel and understanding of what it takes to win in these moments, how to push through the adversity. We get that some, but they're still learning. But they're still young. They're still very, very young. And we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with John Wall. You know, when we talked to Coach Silas about that last week, the fact that, John Wall wants to come back and play, he started as conversations with Rafael Stone and getting back into kind of play in shape, getting him into the rotation. We'll see what that looks like. But I think it's the Rockets have made no bones about the fact that they are in a rebuild mode. They're rebuilding. That's what's happening. But they're competing. They're competing. And even though, they're what now? 6, 7 and 15. Is that where they are? 8 games under 500. It's still, they're fun to watch. It's competitive. They're fun to watch, and you can see that there is a future with this organization. So that's exciting. We can talk more about the Houston Rockets, but I wanted to start with some positive before we delve into the Texans. And actually, we're going to talk about Texans after Jeremy comes on and we do a little bit of baseball, and he spends some time with us. So as we get ready for Jeremy Booth, I'm going to let you hear from Lance McCuellers Jr., who was the home field advantage captain. The Texans will have a celebrity captain, if you will, and he was that for the Texans on Sunday. So we got a chance to visit with Lance before the game. Of course, Lance is a Astros pitcher, went out with injury during the postseason, wasn't able to play in the ALCS or the World Series, and it's really just making his way back so that he can be ready for when the lockout ends. But this is him talking about being the home field captain and really about a little bit about the lockout.
Cool. I'm honored to be here. It's very fun. I know some of my buddies in the past have been able to be the home field captain. So when they called me up, I said absolutely. I'm very happy and excited to be here, represent the Astros and the city of Houston. Even though I'm an Astro currently, I'm not really sure.
How are you feeling on that note?
Yeah, this is something that has happened in the past. We don't always come to CBA agreements right away. We haven't been locked out in a while, but we've had extensions and things in the past, and we just as a union, we stay consistent. We want to negotiate, want to come to a fair and a reasonable CBA that is all encompassing the players, the fans, the teams, and hopefully we can do that.
How's your arm feeling?
So that's Lance McCuellers. Before the Texans game on Sunday, I had a chance to talk with one of the players during this lockout, because they will not have any access to the facility. Again, Jeremy Booth is going to join us, and he can really help break down what happens during the lockout. And I'm curious to see when he thinks this will wrap up. Here's also Lance talking about how his recovery is going. He did address that
It's
a
getting
little
a lot
bit.
better. I had an MRI about a week and a half ago, and everything looked really good. The forearm injury is almost completely healed, and my surgeon out in LA, Dr. Eltrosh, did my Tommy John, said my graft was good as well, which is all positive news. So everything continues to head in the right direction with rehab. I should start throwing in about a month.
How about Justin Verlander rejoining the team?
Yeah, it's. I was saying out there in the radio broadcast that anytime you can add a Hall of Famer back to your team, to the rotation, it's massive for us, and we're very familiar with Justin. He's been here, he's done a lot of great things in this uniform, so we look forward to continuing those. And I think hopefully when the lockout does end, his deal will become official, and we look forward to trying to make a World Series run with him.
Okay, so that was Lance McCullers Jr. We got a chance to visit with him before the Texans game on Sunday. He's talking about his recovery. He says it's going well. He also talked about his relationship with Carlos Correa. That it's his best friend in baseball. He was actually going to be going over to the Correa's house after the Texans game on Sunday. And he said, listen, he's still an Astro, so we still have a chance of him being with the Astros next year. So I'm going to hold out that hope. That's what Lance says. I'm going to bring in the expert that can help us kind of understand what's happening with the lockout, what the issues are with the lockout, and what y'all ask me every week about Carlos Correa. Like, I know, but if anybody knows, right, it's going to be our baseball expert. And that's the wrong one. It's Jeremy Booth. And hello, Jeremy. Welcome to Chalk Talk. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Kim, how you doing?
I'm good. I am super excited to actually see you outside of Channel 11 in postseason, right?
Yeah, it's good to see you.
So let me ask you: I guess you were not real surprised that there is a lockout, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's been kind of rumored for years that was going to happen. Some kind of a work stoppage, whether it was a lockout or a strike. I don't think it's been any secret for the last, I'd say, 3 years, actually, that a work stoppage is coming.
So if you had to say when you think they are going to, how long will this stoppage be? I heard Lance say on Sunday, and then I saw some comments from the union saying how they thought this was just the owners being a little overreaching, a little dramatic, but that hopefully it doesn't delay spring training. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think Tony Clark is correct when he says a lockout was unnecessary, right? It wasn't something that had to happen. It was clearly a step the owners wanted to take to protect their brand, protect any kind of insurance, maybe send a statement, but it wasn't necessary. I've heard different things. I've heard this could be over in a matter of weeks. I heard this can be over by spring training time. What I've been told, even up to yesterday, was that they may not get back to the bargaining table until about 2 weeks before spring training. That these sides are that far apart, and we know they're far apart on some key issues. In negotiations, as we all know, each side's going to have to soften to give a little bit. I don't know where the players are going to be interested in giving when you have a situation such as using 2 different baseballs in the same year and not telling the players that's what's going on, right? That changes the stats. It can hurt people. There's a million different things that Major League Baseball has done to kind of experiment, and I don't think the players are going to soften much. So this may be a little bit more prolonged than I thought.
Can we talk a bit before we go to the money, because of course it's always about money. Can we talk about that just a little bit? Help us understand the issue with the different baseballs for people who well, what's the big deal?
Well, to do that, I'll kind of go back to a different example that happened a couple years ago when they changed the baseball in AAA. And Major League Baseball has always been what it is, and it's been used at that level. And the balls at the lower levels have been different wound, different tight. I don't understand why they do that, but they do it, and that's just been the way it is. Well, in AAA, and I want to say this was 2019, they went to a ball that was exactly the same as Major League Baseball. And the home runs skyrocketed, went through the roof, and the run production was different. And so what happens is the way the ball plays, whether it's, the grip, the slickness of the ball. We all think back to Spider Tack that happened this year. How they changed the grip and the substances that pitchers are able to use. It changes how the ball comes out of the hand. It changes how it comes off the bat. It changes how it carries. It's all aerodynamics and physics and things that are different than what I've been trained in my disciplines to understand as far as how that's put together. But it does matter. So if you're a pitcher and you think you have a certain baseball, that may affect how you're going to pitch. If you're a hitter, it may change your approach or it changes your results. And it's interesting to me that Major League Baseball used one ball when the pitchers, that was much more lively, if you will, when the big pitcher contracts are going to be up after 2019. And then in 2021, you have all these big hitters that are signing, these offensive producers, the Carlos Correa, the Story, the Seagers, the Simeons, all ones everybody's reading about, and a lot more that haven't signed yet. And we have a much more dead baseball. Doesn't really, without telling the players, it doesn't really look like it's certainly not transparent. It doesn't look like there's any kind of honorable intentions with it. So you're talking about a fracture of trust at the most basic level with how you play the game and the competitive balance of what these teams are going to do. And the players, they don't want to see their lives affected by it. And yes, it comes down to money, but in lots of different ways, this is their livelihood. Right.
Absolutely.
And they don't want to see that change because or have that held against them or hurt them because the commissioner's office arbitrarily decides to do so.
Yeah, I think the key is that fracture of trust, right? Midway in the season, you make a change. It's a huge equipment change. We talk about whether a ball in football is how much it's inflated. Imagine changing the kind of ball altogether. And that's just one issue. I think one of the things that when you talk about terms of service, how many years of service. And so I used an example last week on another show. I said, think about a guy like a Yordan Alvarez. He's a perfect example of why they want to change. The union wants to change. When can I go into arbitration? When can I make some real money? Do you think the owners are going to give on that?
Well, I saw something where, and I'm fortunate. I obviously know people on both sides. So, it gives me the ability to speak as directly as possible because I'm not playing favorites with this. But I saw something where they were dancing around the age of 29 and a half as kind of an arbitrary line of free agency. Well, the problem is that Latin American kids sign at 16.
Right.
So until you affect the change in that system, you're not giving everybody an equal playing field for service time and eligibility. And a Latin free agent or Latin player, let's say, would be under contract for 13 years with one team instead of being a free agent after 6. You see what I'm saying? So there's a disconnect there on how things are going to work. And we're getting back to we're going to have to get back to this is what we want to accomplish. This is how we see the game. And I think what you're really at is you have a former player in Tony Clark, who is a well-educated player, who is a well-established player, who had a long career, who is well-spoken, and you have labor lawyers, which is what Rob Manfred really is. He's a labor lawyer. That's his background, and is interested in creating a singular labor system globally, which makes sense on the surface because you want to make sure that the U.S. players and the Japanese players and players, have the same system as under his the market he's overseeing or the industry he's overseeing. But at the same token, you have to get all the other countries to play ball. And so he's kind of fighting uphill with this battle and it's affecting the way the game is handled at the even most base level in the minor leagues, all the way down to opportunities for amateurs. And the players' unions had enough, and they're going to have to get back to a basic connection on what they want the game to look like.
Talking with Jeremy Booth, we have a few more minutes with him. And before I get him to weigh in on his thoughts about Carlos Correa, does this lockout give the Astros some breathing room? Is there a chance that one of the things that comes out of this new CBA is there's a shorter length that you can have guaranteed contracts? Is that something that could happen instead of, could they limit it? Could they impact contracts in that way?
The players' union, and you never say never, but I'm going to say never here. The players' union will never agree to anything that limits the earning power of the player. Okay. It's not going to happen. And Max Scherzer's contract, with the Mets is a pretty big signifier of that. I mean, if we're being honest, that's absurd dollars for a short period of time. It's far and away above what anybody else is willing to do in the market. It mirrors a little bit, and there's a lot of heat for this guy, and justifiably so, what Trevor Bauer got with the Dodgers with these opt-outs. But that's how the game works. They're not going to turn around and sacrifice their earning power for anybody to feel better about themselves. And that's what it would be. So you guys want to make more money, we're going to go ahead and cap it. It's not going to happen. So when it comes down to that, I don't see that happening. What I do see is that the owner spent a lot of money this year before the lockout. That was more of a race to make sure they signed the player. It does show the financial health of the game, right?
Mhm.
But they just didn't want to lose out over a protracted lockout and have people change their minds on what they wanted to do. So I think to kind of answer your question, anything that restricts how far, how high, how many years. I mean, there's guys have 13, 14-year contracts out there now with Bryce Harper and Fernando Tatis, and there's just no chance they're going to see that change.
Does Carlos Correa get a 10-year, a double-digit year deal? And do the Astros have any real shot at re-signing him?
All right, so I'll answer this several ways. Carlos Correa's personality. We need to say this. He's extreme. We all know he's extremely talented.
Yes.
First pick in the draft in 2012. Bobby Heck was the scouting director. Jeff Luna was the general manager. Carlos has done an excellent job of living into his billing at a premium position. That said, he's had injury history. He has not had the offensive production that many people we consider to be what we would call an elite bat. I mean, he's a 5 or 6 hitter on his team. And what I mean by that is he doesn't hit 330. He doesn't hit 40 home runs. He's not an exceptional run producer. He's a very, very good and very, very valuable offensive player. What Carlos Correa is offensively is he is a clutch performer. There's no moment too big for him. There is no environment too loud for him. He kind of thrives on it, and we've seen it again and again. And that's something you can't really teach. You either have that or you don't. And he's one of the best at it that I've seen. He's also an excellent, as we can see defensively, he's an 80 defensive shortstop on the scouting scale. He might be a 90. And the irony of that is that out of high school, some people didn't think he could play short. They thought
Really?
they thought he moved to third base. And to see what he's done there is a testament to how hard he does work and what he puts into his craft. And he is an excellent, excellent defensive shortstop. Now, putting a very good offensive performer together with an excellent defensive shortstop gives you a top 5 value player in the game, because you don't have somebody who is those don't come along very often. 280 and 25 to 30 and 80 to 90 and all. It doesn't defensive runs saved, which is not a metric we want to use. We'll just use that for the argument as of right now. Isn't something that's around much. So on that you would say yes. Now here's the detractors. The detractors are most recently the comments about Derek Jeter. Using the defensive run save metric, which we know anybody in the baseball space and the analytics space, even in the media space, knows that's a flawed metric. I don't care how much you put it out there. It's not an accurate metric. And even the people that created it said, be careful, right? So we don't want to use that as a value. Secondly, he's behind Derek Jeter as far as a clutch performer. So as good as he is, you've got one of the best of all time who has hit traditional and advanced metric markers in the Hall of Fame on the most storied franchise in sports, in the biggest market in sports, that you're now marginalizing. No, you're not going to win over people across the game with that type of approach. And then you have 2017, unfortunately, that's being held against him. So all of that to say, my answer is no, he doesn't get 10 years unless it's creative. I do think he comes back to Houston. I think it's 7 years, 240 and 250, maybe an opt-out after 3, and then some player options to extend it to 10 if the Astros want to do it. I don't think Carlos will ever find the love. And I think he's a love me type of person anywhere else
he is.
Than Houston. And I think this is the environment for him. I think it's where he needs to be. And this city will love him more than anybody else ever will.
Jeremy Booth, I'm going to keep to our time. I have like 2 more minutes with you. So I know that you are a scout and you are very active in baseball, and we kind of, had making up these scenarios throughout the postseason of where you would go and lead a franchise. Tell us what's going on with you and what should we be looking out for?
I was, every year I've been very fortunate, and the opportunities have climbed a little bit as the years have gone on. I've been very fortunate last several years to have, since I've transitioned my life into the global initiatives with New Balance and obviously the television now, and the different things that have happened away from working for a club. I've been very fortunate in what that means in my personal and professional life, and also to have the respect of my peers and the people in the industry. I need to publicly say it here. I don't have any interest in going back to Major League Baseball. And I have had bouts of considering, and I've had, there's always going to be that pull to win a ring. I don't have any interest as of today, especially with some of the things that are happening in the game, to put myself back in that position. I like where I'm at. If I like my life, if something comes up that makes a lot of sense that I can't turn down, that's always a never say never. You kind of listen to it and get back in. And I do think there's some people doing good things out there. I think James Click is doing a good job with the culture with the Astros. I think Tampa Bay does a great job. There's some clubs out in Boston has done some things, but for me right now, I'm good where I am. New Balance has been pretty good to me. I like where my life is headed, and I'm going to take it a day at a time and stay right where I'm at.
Listen, I totally get all of that. I do. Hey, listen, I appreciate you jumping in with me at the last minute. I'll have to get you back next time. We're going to talk about Justin Verlander. I don't even want to start down that road today, but I want to honor your time, and so that next time I call you, you'll come back. Thank you so much, Jeremy. I appreciate you, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. And I'll see you next time.
You too. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a bunch. All right. That was Jeremy Booth. He is a baseball analyst that I've got a chance to know doing some work on KHOU and on Sports Extra, and always just really respected the way he talks about the game. And I was interested. See, I've been one of those people that kind of felt that about Carlos Correa. I'm a huge Correa supporter. I don't understand for the life of me the whole Jeter bashing thing. I don't know what that was, unless he just never really wanted to go there. I don't know what that was. It doesn't endear you across the game of baseball. But you're right. He will be beloved in Houston. He does love it here. And I like the way he broke down the potentials and the way that we should look at Carlos Correa in terms of all the great things he brings, but the reality of who he is as a player. So thank you for that, Jeremy Booth. All right, so I promised you I would let you hear from some Texans. Well, actually, David Culley, we're going to get back to that. I just wanted to start the show with the positive stuff, right? The Rockets, the young Rockets have now won 6 in a row. We'll let you hear from them. We talked a little bit about baseball to help understand the lockout. I'm glad he explained the switching of the baseballs, in terms of fracturing that trust, right? Like, what are y'all doing? You just can't change the ball we use in the middle of the season and not really tell us. But there's another positive that I want to talk about, and that is Texas Southern University got a big win yesterday, basketball. The basketball team has historically been the part of their D1 sports, the men's basketball and women's basketball has had some success. But Johnny Jones, who's the head coach over there now, they have gone into their non-conference schedule is always kind of brutal. Okay, they go into these major universities, these other programs, and so you can say, yeah, well, they go get a payday, but they always go trying to win. And so yesterday they went into Florida, who was ranked 20th in the country, and they went into Florida and they won. So congratulations to Johnny Jones and the Texas Southern University Tigers. There we go. So there's a final, 69-54. They beat number 20 Florida in Florida. They were 0-7 going into that game. They were 23.5-point underdog, and they pulled off the win. So congratulations to Coach Jones, the TSU Tigers, and just always showing up with that program. They show up, and there's none of that. Well, yeah, we are here. We just glad to be here. Give us our check. We're gonna take your check. Thank you very much, and we're gonna come in and try to win. Right? I think it was TCU they beat last year. I know that they beat my Aggies in recent years. They have gone in and had some big wins, so good for that. Yeah, you're right, Craig. Hey, good morning, Craig. Carlos's wife is from here. He likes Houston. I mean, he said it. I believe he wants to be here. I do think the 10 years is going to be hard to get to. And I will say this, you cannot accuse Jim Crane of not spending the money, right? I understand why he doesn't want to commit that kind of money for, say, 10 years, because you don't want to end up with one of those Pujols contracts where you're paying $30 million and the guy's not you're not getting the production from it, and it kind of hamstrings you on what you can do with the rest of your roster. So, I get that. Dusty Baker is coming back. I saw it come across my screen earlier that organization, I think it was Baseball America, has named Dusty Baker as the American League Manager of the Year. So, yeah. Good for Dusty. I'm optimistic about these Astros and what can happen in the future. Charles said, "Thank you for paying us to whip your behind, Florida." Absolutely, right? Absolutely. It was a good win for TSU, and I got a note from the head coach earlier today, and I have not. I haven't been out there, and I've known Coach Jones since his days of coaching at LSU, and so that's been a long time. And I told him, I'm going to do better, Coach. I'm going to get over there. I can't just get bogged down with these, some other stuff. So I'm going to go over and make sure that I talk to him, and he's going to come on Chalk Talk, right? I was hoping to have Eddie Robinson. He and I have talked. Eddie Robinson Jr., the new head football coach at Alabama State. He played football there. He, of course, went on to play in the National Football League for the Houston Oilers, which is where I first met Eddie Robinson, and then, of course, finished his career with the Titans. He has gone back to coach at his alma mater. They had the announcement last week. He is going to join us on Chalk Talk, hopefully in the next week or two. We couldn't work it out for today, but he's definitely coming. And while we're talking about college football and we're talking about HBCUs, because that's what I want to do in this moment, of course, Dooley, the coach at Prairie View, has moved on and gone to he's taken the job at Southern, and Bubba McDowell, the former Houston Oiler safety, has moved once again into the interim role. And Bubba said, "Hey, I'm ready now. Maybe previously when I was the interim, I knew I wasn't quite ready to be the head coach. I'm ready, and I want to be the head coach." So Bubba's going to join us. Reached out to him yesterday as well. I'd love to see him get that gig. He's been at Prairie View for a while, and I appreciate the fact that when he wasn't quite ready to be the head coach, he knew it, and he said, "Yeah, I like what I'm doing. I want to be a head coach. I'm not ready yet." And now he knows, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready to be the head coach. So he is the defensive coordinator, but he is the interim head coach, and hopefully the good folks at Prairie View A&M University will decide that now is the time and name Bubba McDowell. I don't want to say give him the head coaching job, but select him as the head coach, because I feel like he's been there and he's worked hard, and I think he's earned it. So we'll let you definitely hear from some of those people coming up pretty soon. Another interview that we will have in the next couple of weeks is the Rockets president, Gretchen Shear. We were in an organization together and saw her before Thanksgiving, and she's going to come on and we're going to talk a little bit about just what it means to run a team, to run a major franchise. She runs the business operations side. Rafael Stone is the general manager in terms of everything that happens with personnel and on the court, and then everything else is Gretchen. So these are some of the things coming up, some of the people coming up that will be joining us on Chalk Talk. So before we I have to kind of talk. I have to talk about the Texans because it is the elephant in the room, I suppose. When I was working out yesterday morning, one of the guys said to me, "Hey Kim, you go to the games, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're in the stadium?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "So I'm just wondering, does it look as bad in the stadium in terms of the people that show up as it does on TV?" I said, "It's not that it looks bad because on TV it doesn't look like anybody's going to the games." I said, "That's because they're not." Right? They're not going to the games. There's no traffic. Craig used to go to every game. You can just hop off Kirby, wherever you're going. You can just pull right into a parking lot. There's no traffic. You can get in and out of the stadium with ease. The stadium, I'm gonna say maybe it's not. It's not half. It's not. They're not 30,000 people there. Like I think a sellout capacity is like 70,000 ish. I don't think there's 35,000 people at those games. I think they're less than that, right? It's not a good crowd in terms of fan support, and it's because it's not a good product. This team has had bad seasons before, right? When I was looking back at the records and somebody asked me, is this the worst season ever? The team has been around for 21 years now. So in 2005, they went 2-14. This year they're 2-10. Of course, there's 17 games this year, so they have, there's still some more opportunities to see what they're going to do. In 2013, they finished 2-14. And of course, what was so crazy about 2013 was that was coming off the previous year when they finished 12-4. And so one of the metrics that they use in terms of how bad a season is a point differential. And so the worst point differential in terms of points given up and points scored, that's where they get that number, was in 2005 to this point, and it was a -171. And that was through 16 games. So right now the Texans have played 12 games, and they are at a -157, 159. So I don't know. I don't really know how they'll finish in terms of those kind of stats. I will tell you they have lost 6 games by 15 points or more. They've been shut out twice, once in Buffalo 40-0, which did look nearly as bad as the loss they had against the Colts on Sunday when they were shut out 31-0. And again, it was their first home shutout in franchise history. They're just not playing well, and what they're able to do defensively. There are some bright spots on defense. I mean, Camu Grugier-Hill broke the Texans record for tackles in a game. He had 19 tackles on Sunday, but like he said, it was in a losing effort, and so the goal is to win. We've seen them do some things defensively that are better. You've got to like what you see from him, what you see from John Grenard, the rookie defensive lineman Roy Lopez. There have been some other bright spots actually on the Texans defense. I'm not saying that they're Pro Bowlers, right? But they got some players over there. We know that Justin Reed has been a really good and productive safety, and so they've got some linebacker plays. Zach Cunningham, when he's actually there and playing, they've done some things, and the Levy's defense has helped this team be better because they were defensively just so bad last year. But offensively, man, they're just not good. And we didn't think they'd be great. I mean, let's to keep some reality about what this roster has to offer, right? When Deshaun Watson was here in 2020 and had arguably the best season, well, definitely the best season of his career, but the best season by, the best season that many quarterbacks would have or will have had, they were 4-12. Okay, I always go back to that because they were 4-12 with Deshaun Watson just balling out like crazy. Okay, that's what they were. The roster needed an overhaul. They're rebuilding. Here's the thing that I always come back to. I am not convinced that this group is the group that's going to be able to manage the rebuild effectively. I don't expect. I don't think anybody who really follows football thinks, okay, well, they're going to get draft picks and next year they're going to be in the hunt. You think maybe in about 3 years they're better because of what they get in terms of, draft capital. They've gotten back in terms of managing the cap. And I hear you when you talk about David Culley not being a guy who should be an NFL quarterback. NFL head coach. I'm just not so sure why y'all think that Nick Caserio is the guy to lead this team toward the future. And I know I got to let this go. The fact that they have turned Jeff Driscoll, the third string quarterback, into a tight end and told people about it. And not that I care whether or not Jeff Driscoll becomes a tight end. Maybe he doesn't have a future as a quarterback. But y'all got too much other stuff to worry about. Instead of making that move and talking about it, like he was already running scout team because he was on the practice squad. Why is that something that you're doing? Your team is really bad. You've got to figure out who's going to stay, who's going to go. How can we get some wins? Because I don't believe you get to the bottom of the barrel, you get the first pick in the draft, and all is well. Especially if what you do in the draft isn't productive and you don't make the right moves. I think when you become what they become. You see the fans just not being there. Like I mentioned some other seasons before, 2-14 twice before. They've been 4-12. They've had some rough roads in the past, but they got people in the building. There wasn't this feeling of just, you know, empathy, and I don't know what this is, but it's not good. It's not how you build a franchise. It's not how you um, navigate and build a fan base. Teams do rebuild, but who's rebuilding? Do they know what they are doing? I don't think the answer to that is yes. I am not convinced. Um, so it should be really interesting. Um, yeah, Craig said he wouldn't. He said I wouldn't waste the pain to my old football right knee to walk the NRG campus for that product. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And yeah, they said, listen, don't. He says, Craig says, don't get that kid from Pitt in the draft. Don't get the quarterback in the draft. You get the Pitt kid on a good draft year in the second or third round. Go defense and offensive line up and sexy. I agree. They've got some holes, right? They've got some holes on their organization. And let me say this. Here's something else. I know that they don't have great talent, right? You're right. They've got to do something with the offensive line. But at some point, and David Culley is firmly behind his staff, and he's firmly behind Tim Kelly, and it's not play calling is that an issue. Um, I just I don't even know what they're doing. Like, I don't know what they're trying to build. I don't know what direction they're trying to go. Um, and I agree with you, Trey. I mean, draft positioning is important. They're going to have the drafts. And we've seen if we go back and look at what's happened in the draft, having a number one overall pick, if you don't have the people in place to make that right pick, doesn't really matter. And how many times have teams intentionally, tried to tank? I think you have a better shot if you're talking about basketball. Not that you intentionally tank, but in terms of finishing at the bottom and being able to turn that into something in a reasonable amount of time. I just don't think these guys know how to do it. I'm just not convinced that they're the ones to get that done. Tim Kelly, now I keep thinking back to an interview we did with him during training camp where Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, said everything he knows about coaching he learned from Bill O'Brien. Everything he learned about coaching, he learned from Bill O'Brien. Really? Okay. um, which I think speaks volumes because they're not great, but they shouldn't. I mean, you've made changes, you've tried different people. At some point, it's got to be something that you're doing that could be done differently. I mean, and when you're talking about how are your players still lining up in the wrong spot? How do you have a receiver recovering over, covering up a tight end, and you're getting the motions penalties? I mean, how is that happening in week 13 of the season? Those are coaching issues. So I just think this team has a lot of issues. And you're right, it's tough to trust the front office. It is it's tough to trust the front office that the front office knows what it's doing. They have been in a position before where they were, going to be in position to have the number one overall pick. But I don't think that was, I said empathy earlier. The word I meant was apathy, not empathy. There's this apathy for the organization. I don't know how it gets much better. It's just a clown show. And please send me the number and add me. Okay, what number is that, Craig? Did I miss something? But yeah, I definitely will. Are you talking about to right now? Let me see something. I know what I'll do. So I just don't think this Texans team is, and I'll send you a link, Craig. I think that's what you mean. I don't think this Texans organization is equipped to figure it out. I don't think they have the people. I don't think the problem is just David Culley. I think I'm just not. I don't understand how you can be so down on David Culley and think Nick Casario is doing some great bang up job. I don't get it. So here's what's happening. Tyrod Taylor has come back. He has not looked. I mean, they beat the Titans, and so that was okay. And let me give you this. I'm sending the whoops. Okay. The first game against Miami, it was horrible, right? It was like, I would say, probably the worst game of Tyrod Taylor's career. One of the things about Tyrod Taylor is that he just didn't make mistakes. And in the Miami game, it was just awful. So we thought, you know what? He's rusty. He's been out since being injured, all these games, 6, 7 weeks. So, okay, then he came back. They won against the Titans. Although they weren't great offensively against the Titans, they did go into Tennessee and win. It counts. It's a win. Okay. But then on Sunday, that first pass he threw, the first interception, the first turnover, like, what is that? I'm going to say he was benched in the game because he came out, and after the game, David Culley talked about how he hurt his wrist, but it was his left hand, not his throwing hand. And I remember being in the press box and being told on Sunday, hey, listen, Tyrod did, go out, but they looked at his wrist, but he's available to play. Like, it's not that he can't play. So they benched him, and he went to Davis Mills, who, we saw him start to play better, especially in that game against the Patriots. I think was Davis Mills' best outing, right? It was the game when the Patriots and the Texans were both 1-3. And then, of course, the Patriots have now turned it around and won 7 or 8 straight. They're the top team in the AFC. But Davis Mills, they put Davis Mills in to finish the game out. We will know tomorrow who's going to start on Sunday, because whoever's getting the reps on Wednesday will be the most reps. Who's ever getting, first team reps on Wednesday at practice will be the starter on Sunday. David Culley has basically said that. Craig is trying to join us, so we'll bring him in shortly. But while we are waiting for him, I'm going to let you hear from, this is David Culley after the game on Sunday. Texans head coach David Culley.
That's a good football team. We got to outcoach them out. A lot of that happened. David, why did Davis Mills Tyrod had a wrist. He hyperextended his wrist a little bit, so he wasn't sure he could handle the football.
Is Tyrod still the starter when he's healthy?
When you don't score any points in a game, you evaluate everything. And we're going to evaluate everything as we look at the field.
So you didn't think he was healthy enough to come back to the game?
He probably could have came back in the game if we needed him to, but I don't know how effective he would have been in throwing the football.
What does David?
So that was after the game on Sunday, right? He said he probably could have come back. Don't know how effective he would have been. Whole 9 yards. All right. He hadn't been effective when he was in there. Tyrod Taylor's numbers on Sunday, he completed 5 of 13 passes for 45 yards. That's not a good line for anybody. Davis Mills came in and was 6 of 14 for 49 yards. Their offense was anemic, and that's being kind. Here's Culley yesterday, head coach David Culley yesterday, answering the question about who's going to start at quarterback this week against the Seahawks.
Have you decided yet who's going to start against Seattle?
No, we're still evaluating it.
When will you make a decision?
This week, later on in the week.
What's going to be the main thing you're looking for in making that decision?
After we keep evaluating what we're doing and just kind of see where we need to go and what gives us the best chance to win, and we'll make it based off of that. And it will be later on in the week.
You've been saying kind of all year that Tyrod would start to be healthy. Is this a difficult decision for you to have to maybe change?
No, Christian, not when you're looking at the way we've been playing. The way our offense has been playing, obviously the job of our quarterback is to score points and get us in the end zone. And we haven't done that very well, and we're going to see what we need to do to get that corrected. And that's why we're doing the evaluation right now.
What did you think about Davis after he came in yesterday?
I thought he did a good job. I thought he made one bad throw yesterday, the one throw that could have been intercepted that Chris Conley did a nice job of breaking up. But other than that, I thought he did a good job. I mean, he handled things well. Had a couple of alerts that he didn't hit on the run game that we needed to go the other way. He went the other way with it. But That's common when he hasn't been practicing and taking those reps, but I thought he did a good job, and I thought he threw the ball well.
The intentional grounding, and then I think there was another that he was off the mark with. What happened with those two throws, and just seemed like there was some miscommunication?
Brooks, it was just a miscommunication. It was a miscommunication, and they came up in press coverage. He thought the guy was going to do one thing, and the receiver did another thing. It was simply a miscommunication with he and the receiver being on the same page, and the receiver was right in that particular situation.
On the other issues on offense, getting the receivers more involved, what's it going to take to get more receivers beyond Brandon this game?
Well, it was one of those games where we tried to get other guys involved, but we just weren't able to do it. We missed a couple of throws yesterday that Ty and the receivers should have been pitch and catch with that we didn't get. We had a couple of we had the illegal formation that we had where we got a big play down the field that ended up bringing the ball back. But there were throws to them that we just didn't connect. We hit and miss with those throws.
How do you plan to divvy up the quarterback reps on Wednesday if you make the decision later in the week?
Whoever our starter will be taking those reps.
So you'll know by Wednesday who
So that's him. That's where I got that. Whoever the starter is going to be on Sunday will get the first team reps at practice tomorrow. So I'll let you know when we go to practice tomorrow, who's out there. So I'm going to see. I think we can bring Craig on. I don't see a picture, but maybe we can get the audio. I'm going to add it now and see if Craig, are you there? I don't know if the connection is working because I added it, but I see the mic is not muted, but I don't hear him. So I'll wait till he'll send me a text. All right, so that's David Culley. We will see what happens with this team on Sunday in terms of, okay, Craig, are you there? Okay. Who is going to be the starter? They play the Seahawks. And you know, it'll be interesting. That's all I can say. It will be interesting. But listen, we are about out of time. I'm going to reach out to Craig and maybe he can join us next week or hop on and do another. I'm going to do an Instagram live probably later, and maybe I'll get him to join me on that. But listen, the Rockets are playing. We're seeing some of what this team's going to be, and they're without two of the young ones right now. Right, Jalen Green is injured. KPJ is a little banged up, so we'll see. Garrison Matthews, you gotta like what you see from Garrison Matthews since they brought him to this team. Christian Wood is kind of getting back to feeling where he is. I like DJ Augustine when he comes in and he runs the point. I just, I don't know what. I'm just excited about what could happen. We'll see what they do, how they work out, getting John Wall in the mix and managing all that. There's a lot to observe, and there's a lot of season left for these Houston Rockets. But I said in preseason, I told you guys in camp, I think they're going to be fun to watch. They are not there yet. They're a couple of years away, but you're going to see what they're working with, and not to give up on Coach Silas just yet. And so I think we're seeing some of that. I saw a text from Craig. He said he could see and hear me. I could not see or hear him. Technology sometimes can get the best of you. Listen, we are out of time for today. I look forward to all of you sharing this broadcast with your online communities. Also joining me next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Stay tuned. I'll have some updates throughout the week on things happening I'm going to be at the Rockets game tomorrow night. I'll get there early, do some pregame, let you take a look at James Harden. I probably won't get to talk to him before the game, but at least to get some shots of him warming up. We'll see if there's an update on the John Wall situation, and we will we'll go from there. So listen, make it a great week. Remember to make sure that you are vaccinated, and when you're eligible, that you get the booster shot, that you are practicing social distancing, and that you're just making wise choices, because we are not out of the pandemic. This COVID-19 is real. It's not going away quite yet, because we just didn't stamp it out by collectively taking the vaccine. So now we've got to just make the best choices. I'm fully vaccinated. I've gotten the booster shot, And I'm still going to have my mask on when I'm going in the grocery store and places indoors because I want to protect me and my family and the people that I love. So, Jolando says, okay, yep, I will catch up with Craig later because he and I can talk for a minute, but we're gonna catch up with him later because we're wrapping up today. I don't know why I couldn't get him on. I saw him in the feed. I just didn't see his picture and I couldn't hear his mic. But Jolando says he predicts the Rockets will finish above 500. I think that's realistic. And Jolando also says you can't trust the front office that put us in the position that they're in. And with that front office, he is talking about those Houston Texans. So thank you all for engaging. Thank you for being a part of the show. A special thanks to Jeremy Booth, who adds so much because this baseball is the stuff he knows. I appreciate him and his knowledge, and I appreciate all of you. So remember, go out and do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Make it a great, great week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. I keep wanting to say Beyond the Headlines. Why is that show in my head? That was a show I did at Channel 2 on Chalk Talk. Have a great week, everybody.